Wow. Does anybody here like animals, by the way?
You want to say yeah?
Anybody a fan? Yeah, I'm a big fan too. I love animals. Did you see, I wore my kitty cat mask today. Here, let me get this camera. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, I'd like to do the third camera, but let's reconnect it. So we are going to take about 30 minutes and explore some of our amazing animals that live here at the Museum of Discovery. I'm so excited that you guys get to join us virtually today. Stephen and I really love doing these virtual programs, and you guys get to see some of our animals way up close, way closer than you normally get to see. So I'm really excited about it. It looks like we are getting our final adjustments made for us to be able to begin our program. Let's see if we can hear Steven. Let me get my ears in real quick.
My microphone is on. Can we hear?
Ooh, I do hear you. Yeah.
Excellent.
Fantastic. And if it's not connecting, we don't need to worry about it. We can go ahead and get rolling.
Okay. I think it's connected now.
All right. I think we're ready, guys. I think we can do it.
Do you have it?
Oh, we do have it. Oh, my goodness. Everything's coming together.
Just make sure the audio isn't following the video.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Got it. Got it. Oh, man. So we not only have our wide shot of the stage where Steven's going to present from.
Where do you want
You've got
this?
me over here running the studio. My name is Thomas. We also are going to have a close-up cam that's going to be right on our critter.
Where do you want it?
Which is going to be cool.
Like,
we'll figure it out as we get going. It'll be good.
Gotcha.
So once again, my name is Thomas. I'm so excited that you guys get to learn about our animals. Without further ado, let's get straight to it. So I'm going to introduce to you the energetic, the fun, and knowledgeable, exciting Steven Limp.
Ooh. I see. Good morning, guys. Thank you for joining us again here at the Museum of Discovery. My name is Steven. Once again, I am an educator here at the museum. I do all sorts of fun things. But last week, or was it last week? God, we had such a fun time. I can't even remember when it was. We had, I believe we did things that animals like to eat the last time we were together. We talked about animal diets. We talked about herbivores, carnivores, and omnivores. I think you guys met a chinchilla, a ferret, and an opossum, 3 of our favorite animals here at the museum. We had a lot of fun talking about that. And this week, we're learning about something a little bit different. We are talking about how different animals keep themselves safe, how they stay safe out in the wild. Now, here at the museum, our animals live a pretty cushy, chill life. They don't really have to worry about much. We feed them, we give them shelter. But out in the wild, it's a hard place to live. So animals need to keep themselves safe. Even big, tough, scary animals still need to keep themselves safe from other animals. So I have actually 4 animals for you guys today that all have very unique defenses and very special and cool ways of keeping themselves safe. Now, you might notice this little podium thing we have set up here, and that's because our first animals are a little tiny. So I had to make it a little bit easier for Thomas to get a nice close-up view on them. Our first animals today are called Feining beetles. Now, that's kind of a hard name to say, but it does have to do with how they keep themselves safe. So Thomas, in just a second, is going to bring over our close-up camera so you guys can get a close-up look on these little dudes. So our feigning beetles are found in the southwestern United States. So not our side of the U.S. here in Arkansas, the other side in states like Arizona, Nevada, and California. And Thomas, if you want to get a nice close look at our friends down in here, these are our 2 feigning beetles. Hello, this is our blue one. Boop. And this is our white one. There we go. Boop. Hello, hi. And you might notice that their little container is full of sand and rocks. Well, that's because these guys in the wild are found in deserts. They're found in the Sonoran and Mojave deserts. And you might have also noticed that I picked those guys up, and when I set them down, at least our white one really ran with the act, it looked like they were dead for a second. But don't worry, I didn't kill our beetles. The reason that these guys are called death feigning or death faking beetles is because that's the way they keep themselves safe. If they are threatened by predators out in the wild, these guys will play dead. They will pretend to be dead. They'll go fully stiff. As you saw, if they get flipped over, they'll just kind of hang out there and they will sorry, we had a fun little camera snafu. And they will lay there pretending to be dead until whatever's trying to eat them goes away. Now, our beetles here at the museum are very used to being handled and very used to being seen by people. So usually they only play dead for a couple seconds after I pick them up. Usually our white one is a little more dramatic than the blue one, but it just kind of depends on the day. But out in the wild, these guys can play dead for minutes or even hours at a time, depending on how long it takes for those predators to go away. Now, living in a desert not only comes with the challenges of avoiding predators, it also has a lot of other challenges with it. Deserts, if you guys think about a desert, you probably think of a really hot place with not a lot of water and probably not a lot of food. So these guys have to have adaptations or ways that they can keep themselves alive in this really harsh, scary environment. So one of the ways that these guys help stay alive in the desert is this nice little chalky coating that gives them their color. We've got the white one here and the blue one. The reason that they have this kind of chalky color is because they're covered in a kind of wax, kind of like a candle. Our blue one's having a little hard time getting up there. Nice job, buddy. They're covered in a wax, kind of like a candle, and that wax helps them keep in water and moisture. It's hard to find water in the desert, so once you find it, you don't want to lose it. As humans, we're losing water all the time. We're losing it through sweating and all that kind of stuff, but these guys are able to keep that water in with that waxy coating. You might have also noticed that these guys, I put a little bit of food in their little container. We have some carrots, some apples, and some lettuce. So these guys do eat plants and fruit. That's a great source of moisture. But in the desert, oftentimes it doesn't pay to be picky because it's hard to find food. So these guys are omnivores, like we talked about the other week with opossums. They like to eat fruits and veggies, but they also like to eat meat. Now, if you haven't guessed, these guys aren't exactly hunting down their meat. They're very slow and they don't have a strong bite. So they're just going to pick up stuff that's already dead. If they come across a dead bug or they come across another dead animal, they're going to eat that. So these guys not only have ways of keeping themselves safe from predators, but also have ways of keeping themselves safe from the really, really, really harsh conditions of the desert. Animals that live in places like deserts or mountains or in the ocean have all sorts of different ways that they keep themselves safe because those are really difficult places to live. And so I love talking about them because these guys have amazing adaptations. So we're going to say goodbye to our beetles. Everyone say bye, beetles. I'm going to bring them over here and just kind of put them back in their container. There we go. Now, for our second animal, whenever I do these programs, I like to go up in size. So obviously we started pretty small, and we're going to go for a slightly larger animal now. Our next animal is also another North American native. So we had the southwestern United States in the Sonoran and Mojave deserts with our death feigning beetles. But our next animal is actually an animal that we can find right here in Arkansas, in the kind of eastern and southeastern U.S. Now, people always love when I bring out turtles. And here at the museum, we love turtles and tortoises. So I'm going to bring out this little dude. Definitely bigger than our death feigning beetles, but not all that big. We're going to see if he likes to hang out in this little pool here. Oh, I just got some water on the table. That's okay. This is our Stinkpot Turtle. His name is Stimpy, and Thomas is going to help us get kind of a closer view here in just a second. But our Stinkpot Turtle is a native of Arkansas and our surrounding states. Now, Stimpy is a really good education animal, but unlike some of our other animals, he doesn't love to be held for a very long period of time. So that's why I wanted to give him this little pool to kind of hang out in and hopefully make him a little more comfortable. So I'm going to set him in his little pool in the center of the table here, which is now very covered in water. And Thomas is going to help us get a nice up-close look at Stimpy. So Stimpy is a Stinkpot Turtle. And one of the things we're going to learn about some of our animals is their names kind of give us some indications as to how they keep themselves safe. So we know that the death feigning beetles pretend to be dead, and that's how they keep themselves safe. And so keep in mind that his name is a Stinkpot Turtle, and that may give you a good idea as to how he keeps himself safe. The reason that Stimpy really likes to hang out in the water is because unlike some turtles that spend a lot of their time on rocks or on branches kind of basking and hanging out, Stinkpot turtles spend a majority of their time actually under the water. Now, just like other turtles, they do need to breathe. So you may have seen just a second ago Stimpy sticking his little pig-like nose up out of the water to breathe. But actually, these guys have a really, really cool adaptation to stay underwater for long periods of time. If you were to look at a Stinkpot turtle's tongue, I don't know what situation you'd find yourself in which you were able to do that, but if you were to be able to look at their tongue, you would see little kind of bumps all over it. Their tongues are covered in these things called papillae, which is a very fun word. And what that allows them to do is they are actually able to breathe through their tongues. The papillae, these little bumpy structures on their tongues, help exchange oxygen with the outside, which is what they need to breathe. So when water runs over their tongues, they actually get oxygen from that water, and they're able to breathe underwater through their tongues for long periods of time. So even though they do need to come up for air eventually, these guys can stay underwater, and they just kind of walk along or swim slightly along the bottom of any sort of river or stream or pond where they might be. And these guys are very carnivorous. They love to eat meat, like our ferrets that we talked about last time. These guys love to eat all sorts of things you can find in the water: fish, crayfish, snails, small little crustaceans and things like that. These guys have very powerful jaws, almost kind of like a snapping turtle. They're kind of a closer relative of these guys. They have extremely powerful jaws that allow them to crush kind of big, chunky things that they might want to eat. Now, this is a program where we're talking about how these guys keep themselves safe. And so I wanted you to remember that name, Stinkpot Turtle. Are you coming up to breathe there, buddy? I wanted you guys to remember the name Stinkpot Turtle. Now, thankfully, even though Stimpy doesn't love to be held for long periods of time, he's very used to us handling him and bringing him out for education. And so he doesn't do this to us. But in the wild, the primary way that these guys keep themselves safe is by stinking, hence the name Stinkpot Turtle. These guys have little things called glands along the back sides of their body and shells. And these glands allow them to release a very gross smelling substance called musk. It kind of smells like a skunk. So if these guys are being attacked by a predator, they will release that musk, and it'll smell terrible, and it'll get in the predator's nose and mouth, and they probably don't want to mess with it. A lot of ways that animals keep themselves safe is by making themselves seem really distasteful to predators. So generally, we don't like to eat stinky things. Predators are kind of the same way. With our death feigning beetles, some animals like their food already dead, but most animals prefer to catch their food alive because then they know how it died. An animal that's already dead is a potential opportunity for disease or something like that. And so that's just another way that they make themselves distasteful to predators. So even though Stimpy is a carnivore and he eats lots of different other animals, there are still animals that might like to eat Stimpy, and so he's got that musk, that horrible smell, to keep himself safe. All right, everyone say bye, Stimpy. We're going to put our Stinkpot Turtle back in his little container. I think he did a great job, don't you guys? He's gotten a lot better at being out with everybody, so I'm glad you guys got to see him. He's not one that I get to bring out all that often. All right, I have got quite a puddle in the middle of the table here, so we've got a little water feature right now. Now, our next animal, we're going to go a little bit bigger than our Stinkpot Turtle. And we are going to still stick with a reptile, just like our turtle, Stimpy there, but we're going to move on to the world of lizards. Now, the next animal I'm going to bring out is definitely a lot bigger than our beetles or our stinkpot turtles, but she is still an animal that other animals would like to eat, and so she still has ways of keeping herself safe. And I think that this might be the coolest way out of all the animals I have today of an animal keeping themselves safe. So give me just a second. I'm going to go get her. Hello. She is one of my absolute favorites. And you'll have to forgive her. She's shedding a little bit, so she may be look a little bit just a little bit rough right now, but she's just shedding her scales, so she's get some beautiful new scales. All right. And I got this little rock feature for her that I'm hoping she'll just kind of hang out on in our water feature. Yeah, she should be fine if we just put her here. Hi, do you want to hang out here? Hello, hi. Everyone say hello to one of my absolute favorite animals here at the museum. This is Rosie, and this is Rose. Rosie is the name of our tarantula. This is Rose, and Rose is a blue-tongued skink. Now, while Thomas is up here with the close-up, I want you guys to pay really close attention to Rose's mouth, because she's going to show you why she's called a blue-tongued skink. And that blue tongue, like we said, gives you an indication as to how these guys keep themselves safe. So keep that in mind for later. Now, this is our first animal that's not from North America. Rose is from all the way across the world in Australia and the surrounding islands. We have skinks here in Arkansas. We have lizards that we call skinks here in Arkansas, but they're much smaller than Rose. Even our biggest one with their long tails are much, much smaller than Rose. And skinks are really cool lizards. Some people, when I bring her out, think she might be a snake. And honestly, they're not that far off, because skinks are actually kind of the closest lizard relatives to snakes, which is why they look kind of similar. They've got very short legs. They've got kind of snaky heads. So even though they are lizards, they're the closest lizard cousins to snakes. And I really like our skinks here in Arkansas, and obviously I love our blue-tongued skink. Now, Rose is an omnivore, just like our beetles. She loves fruits and veggies, but she also likes to eat various bugs and things. She's got a pretty strong bite that lets her catch her food. But, of course, like I said earlier, even animals that eat other animals still need to keep themselves safe, because there's always a predator that wants to go after them. So Rose has two very unique and special ways to keep herself safe. One, of course, has to do with that name, blue-tongued skink. You guys have been seeing her flick out her nice blue tongue here. It's obviously a much brighter color than the rest of her body, especially right now when she's shedding. Now, that blue tongue isn't just fashionable, it's also functional. So you see, in nature, bright colors are usually a bad thing. We think that might be kind of odd because we love wearing bright colors, but in nature, bright colors usually indicate that an animal or a plant is dangerous. Think of a coral snake, the snake with the yellow, black, and red stripes. That lets other animals know that they are super venomous and you shouldn't mess with them. Monarch butterflies, the nice orange and black butterflies, they're letting other animals know with that bright orange color that they are very poisonous. They're really nasty. They don't taste good. Poison dart frogs, it's in the name. They're all sorts of different colors. They're really pretty blues and greens and blacks and yellows, and that lets other animals know that they are very poisonous and they shouldn't be messed with, because if you eat them, you're gonna have a bad time. Now, here's the thing. Rose here is not dangerous. She's just closing her eyes. She's like, I'm really not dangerous. She's closing the right eye, I guess. Rose here is not dangerous. Oh, thank you. She is not poisonous. She is not venomous, but her prey, or her predators, I should say, don't necessarily know that. That blue tongue helps her pretend to be dangerous. She's really good at acting, just like our death feigning beetles. If she is threatened by a predator, what she'll do is she'll open up her mouth and she'll do kind of a loud hiss, and she'll stick that tongue out and show that bright blue tongue off to her predators. And that sudden just shock of bright colors is usually enough to convince predators, whoa, I don't know what's going on there, but it seems dangerous. I don't want to mess with it. However, that doesn't work all the time. And so, if that is not enough to scare off her predators, she's got one more thing that she can do, her ace in the hole. And it's kind of scary for her, but if it's eat or get eaten or run away, she's gonna try and get with run away. Now, skinks have these lovely long tails here. It's kind of a core feature of skinks, and they have this really cool ability. You see, if Rose or other skinks get in trouble, they can actually choose to pop off kind of the back half of their tail. They have very weak kind of connections between the bones and muscles in their tail right about around here, and they can actually pull or pop their tail off and leave it behind. Not only can they leave that tail behind, that tail will actually wiggle around all by itself for a couple minutes, and hopefully that distracts their predators long enough that the very slow, admittedly, Rose can scoot away in time to not get eaten. Now, that's pretty crazy, but if that was the end of it, that doesn't sound very good for Rose, because once she loses her tail, she's out of tail, she's done for. However, these guys are basically secret superheroes. You see, Rose and other skinks can actually grow back their lost tail over days and weeks, possibly months. I'm actually not sure how long it takes. Kind of like Wolverine or Deadpool, they can actually regrow that tail and get a full new tail back. It'll still look a little bit weird, it'll still look a little bit stumpy, but they don't have to live without a tail because they can regrow, which I think is just like the coolest thing in the whole world. It's, like I said, an animal superpower, and I think it's fantastic. So let's say goodbye to Rose and her awesome ways of keeping herself safe. Thank you for just hanging out, Rose. You're always lovely to bring out. I like you got your little throne here. All right, everyone say bye to Rose. She's one of my absolute favorites, as I said. But I don't want you to think that I don't like our last animal, because she is probably one of the cutest animals we have here at the museum, and I say that without exaggeration. However, nice. We'll clean up the desk a little bit. Thank you very much, Thomas. It's always interesting working with animals. There's always something different. All right, and actually, we're gonna just let our last animal just kind of scoot around the desk a little bit. Now, are we on that camera? Even though our last animal is super cute and adorable, we're talking about ways that animals need to keep themselves safe, right? And I have to put on very thick, heavy-duty gloves to handle our last animal. So don't be too afraid for me. I'm just saying, clearly, if I got to wear these, we've got a really good animal defense coming up. So you guys might have some guesses as to what our last animal might be. What could he possibly be wearing these big, thick, heavy gloves for? Something that's very sharp, something that's kind of pokey, perhaps, something that has a strong bite or strong claws, or how about something that's just super adorable? Everyone say hello to one of our cutest animals here at the museum. This is Thelma, and Thelma is our African pygmy hedgehog, our last animal that we have for learning about how animals keep themselves safe. So we've had 2 North American animals, we had an Australian animal, and now technically we have an African animal. She's really kind of a pet combination of 2 different kinds of African hedgehogs. These guys have become very popular as pets in recent years. But Thelma is, of course, a great example of how animals keep themselves safe. I mean, look, their primary feature all over their back is how they keep themselves safe. Those awesome spikes. Now, these spikes are kind of sharp, but they're not super bad. The reason that I'm really wearing these gloves is so that I smell like everyone else who tries to handle Thelma, because hedgehogs, if you haven't noticed with her sniffing around, are very reliant on their sense of smell. And so it helps make them more comfortable if everyone smells the same, and the gloves help with that. That being said, the gloves do help holding her be a little more comfortable, because it's kind of like she's covered in a bunch of toothpicks. So not terrible, and I could touch her with my bare hands if I wanted, but it does make it more comfortable for her and for myself. Now, even though these are super essential to keeping ourselves safe, these spikes all over their back, they are made out of the same thing as your hair or fingernails. This stuff called keratin. It's just very specialized and hardened and packed together to make these little spikes. I brought some treats for Thelma, and I'm going to see if she wants to eat any of them. Hey, you, do you want some chicken cubes? So what I'm putting out for Thelma, we'll see if she wants to eat it or not. She's probably going to sniff around a little bit first. I'm going to see if she wants to eat any dried chicken, because just like our, maybe a little bit, some interest, just like our blue-tongued skink and our beetle, she is an omnivore. Yes, even this cute, adorable animal is an omnivore. She likes to eat plants, but she also really likes to eat bugs and any kind of high protein things. Now, of course, just like our beetle, she's not going to be hunting anything down and killing it, but she's not going to pass up a nice high protein meal like some chicken cubes or some bugs if she comes across it. So even though she, eats other animals, she does, of course, still have to keep herself safe because she's very small. So lots of things might try and eat her. And that's where these spikes come in. That's, of course, the first thing you notice when you look at a hedgehog. Now, by themselves, these spikes would probably make herself pretty unappetizing. Remember, we said that a lot of animals try and make themselves distasteful to predators. But she's still got, kind of some soft, furry underside. She's got her cute little face that aren't protected by spikes. So if that was the end of it, that probably wouldn't be enough to keep her safe. But hedgehogs have these very specialized muscles, that these are these great adaptations that help keep them doubly safe. So she's kind of like a superhero, kind of like we talked about with our blue-tongued skink. She has a little S-shaped muscle on her stomach, kind of like Superman's costume, or in her stomach, I should say. And when she flexes that muscle, her whole body curls up into a ball, kind of like Sonic the Hedgehog, except as you can tell, she's not fast like Sonic. So that muscle allows her to curl up into a ball, hide her legs and her face, and basically completely enclose herself in spikes. I don't know what you're sniffing for. The chicken cubes are right here. Boy, you are looking for something. Hi. You're so curious. Thelma's one of our most outgoing animals here at the museum. She loves being out and about. So she rolls herself up into a ball, and then she has specialized muscles all over her back that allow her to stick those spikes out in all different directions. So she turns into a spiky little ball, essentially, of sharp toothpicks. Now, I don't know about you, but trying to swallow a spiky ball of toothpicks doesn't sound like the most appetizing thing in the world. Trying to swallow a pineapple whole sounds like a pretty bad time. And that's essentially what hedgehogs do to make sure that they don't get eaten. So they have this really fantastic adaptation that keeps themselves safe, gives themselves a really distinct look, while still being cute and adorable animals. She's really giving you guys a show today. I'm loving it. We'll see if I'll leave her out during our Q&A portion and see if she wants to eat any of her chicken cubes or if she just wants to keep sniffing around. So thank you guys so much for learning about how animals keep themselves safe with me today, learning about animal defenses. It's one of my favorite things to talk about because animals are always having to keep themselves safe, and so they have really cool adaptations that they've developed in order to do that. So at this time, I think Thomas and Brittney are going to help us do questions. So thank you guys so much, and I'm very much looking forward to these great questions that you guys have. I've been really enjoying our programs. I love talking about animal diets. I love talking about keeping themselves safe, and I can't remember what we're doing next time, but I think it's going to be really, really fun. So I'm excited to hear these questions, and thank you guys so much for joining me.
Let's start with a big round of applause for Steven. Way to go, Steven, and the animals.
Always for the animals.
All right. That was so much fun. Brittney and I were having a blast trying to get some cool shots of the different animals. Man, yeah, we were having to chase our hedgehog around all program long. So, Brittney, if you'll grab the gimbal for me, I will let them see that I'm an actual person talking. So we do have time for some questions. I see y'all cheering and clapping for us. Thank y'all so much. If you have a question, let's tell it to your teacher, and then we'll be able to get that question over to Steven, and he'll answer it to the best of his abilities.
Hey, Thomas, if you want to do the side cam, we've got a really good shot of Thelma here.
So let's hear our first question.
She said, how do the animals grow up?
How do those animals grow up?
How do those animals grow up? Well, they all kind of grow up a little bit differently. Ooh, is that a
Wait,
question?
I may have misheard that. I heard grow up. Is there a different?
Roll up. ROLL.
How do they roll up?
How do they roll up?
Like our hedgehog. Gotcha. Yeah, so that muscle, that S-shaped muscle inside of her stomach, it when you flex the muscles in your arm, it kind of takes on a certain shape. It has a certain look. And so kind of similarly, when these guys flex the muscle in their stomach, it makes a certain shape, and what it does is it helps them curl up and curl into a little ball. It's not good for rolling around, but it's good for keeping themselves safe. And then really those muscles on their back, they can help just kind of stick those spikes out in different directions. So they just kind of flex them just like you flex their arm. And just like your muscle sticks up, their spikes stick up. So it's really cool. And it's just one of the many ways that these guys have adapted to keep themselves safe. So great question.
What's our second question for this program?
So much thought.
Back them up about 2 inches.
The hedgehog does have spikes.
You can ask them, do they have to eat healthy?
Do hedgehogs eat bugs too?
Do hedgehogs eat bugs too?
Oh, that's one of their absolute favorite foods. So they'll eat plants and fruits if they come across it, but they also absolutely love bugs. They love crickets and worms and things like that, ants, anything that they can kind of come across. So usually things like, these chicken cubes are just kind of a treat. Mostly what they're going to eat out in the wild is going to be bugs. But here at the museum, dried chicken's a really easy way to get them a good source of protein, but sometimes we give her crickets and things too. So out in the wild, absolutely, hedgehogs love to eat bugs. And you can bet that those bugs have ways of trying to keep themselves safe as well. What are you doing?
What'd you say about it? What'd you ask? Do they eat healthy? She said, do they eat healthy foods? Sit down.
Do they eat healthy foods?
That's a good question. So, as humans, we always want to make sure that we are eating healthy foods. And that's because we don't really have to work super hard for our food, We go to the grocery store and we can kind of buy whatever food we want. We can buy healthy foods, we can buy junky foods. Out in the wild, these guys don't really have a whole lot of options about what food they get. It's kind of whatever they come across. So usually in the wild, animals aren't worrying about eating healthy foods. They're just worried about eating food in general. Now, obviously, they have food that they go after, like Thelma here isn't going to be eating birds or fish or anything like that. But they're more worried about just eating food and finding food in general. Here at the museum, though, where we feed these guys and they don't have to worry about finding food, we do have to worry about giving them a healthy food and a healthy diet. So we have to make sure that, one, these guys are eating enough food of the right kind, and two, they aren't eating too much food, even of the right kind or of the wrong kind. Because if she ate, too many chicken cubes, too much protein, that's going to be as bad for her as not eating enough. So when they're being cared for by humans, like our animals here, we do have to worry about whether they're eating healthy foods or not. Good question.
You else have a question? No? Where's your question? You like it? Yeah.
Do we have any other questions or thoughts that you had about when you got to see the different animals? Did you have a favorite one you wanted to share with us?
Which one was your favorite? Which one was your favorite? You like the turtle?
I like the red.
You like the lizard?
And I like
Ooh, I heard some votes for the lizard. Nice. I think she's super cool. Our lizards here are awesome. I'm sure she's ready to go back to sleep.
Do our teachers have any questions for us?
I don't think so. That was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Well, yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
We are so happy to be able to connect with you guys virtually. And as you could see during this program, you're able to get up close shots that you really wouldn't be able to see if we brought the animals in person. So it's kind of nice to have a blend of in person and virtual, especially for some of the special animals that we have, like our insects. So we really appreciate you guys joining us virtually. It means a lot to us. And Steven just loves presenting with our animals.
Oh, absolutely.
It makes it for a good day for him. And Brittney and I love the challenge of running our studio and chasing a hedgehog around with a camera. So it was a really good time on our end, and we hope you all have an absolutely wonderful day.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
And we'll look forward to seeing you guys next week, I believe. Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
Love it, my friend.